Do you ever think about your memories and where you're keeping them? I mean, these are things that we lived, right? These are moments from our past that have formed us and shaped us. Our memories are important, and yet we don't give them any sort of credence nowadays. It's very strange. If you think about humanity, it was cave drawings that passed insight and wisdom about survival, really, right? And then sort of scrolls and letters, and fast forward a lot, and you've got grandma's family photo albums, right? And we would get all of those. My grandmother has maybe 150 photo albums of pictures that we had to go and get printed at a store. Right. And some of them would be good and some of them would be trash. And, some of them would make the photo albums and some of them wouldn't, and what she would do is she'd put them in these big brown photo albums and then she would write a little description for each one. So it was just enough to put you in the place with the context and all of that. Actually, it's the first time I've thought about that. And thinking about it now, it's amazing how I can see that from my youth. And it's literally what I'm trying to create for humanity in the now. It's funny how that happens. But you see, there's a perfect example, right? That's a memory, right, that I have not remembered in the longest time, and remembered it now. And wow, that's so fulfilling. It's actually, my day today actually feels a lot more fulfilled than it has been powering through everything I've been trying to get done today, including making this video. So there's the power of memory, and yet we don't treat our memories very well, do we? If I were to ask you where your memories are saved, you would probably default to saying, "Oh, well, at best, you have it in one of the cloud service drives, a Google Drive or a Dropbox or something like that, if you're that diligent." Or you would say, "Well, I have it on social media, like I have all of that, and I have some challenges for you. Like, fine, go and pull up a specific memory. Go and pull up a memory that is relating to those memories from the same context, the same time. Now, go one step further and read the description on those memories if you entered one. But figure out if you can tell the tone or the real moment that you had in that memory. You really need more than a description, don't you? And it's okay that Facebook's like that and Instagram's like that and all good. And we won't get into the ethos of what we believe their ethic and responsibility should be in that space, and why we're different with what we're doing. But what I will get into is the fact that it wasn't built to save your memories. Those platforms were built to bring a social connect. They were not built to have deep, meaningful connection around your own personal memories, with the idea to pass them on forever, as grandma's photo albums would be passed on, right? But we had cave drawings, we had letters and scrolls, we had grandma's photo albums, and then we hit the digital age. And what do we have? We don't have a way, we haven't given enough attention to us saving what are arguably the most formational elements of our lives. And when we speak about formation, we speak about, foundational elements of our lives. We often talk about being a baby. We do. We're like, well, there's a certain age. And if we speak about brain development and such, then you get into a space where you have ages that are relevant to that medical process, physiological process, neurological process of development of your brain, for example. Yet our memories are something that shape us continually, forever. For the remainder of our lives, our memories will play a role in how we see the world, how we respond to those around us, how we treat community, how we treat others, how we treat our relationships, how we treat our family and friends, and how we treat ourselves. You see, I'm really happy that we are living in an age of mental health awareness and starting to figure out what it means to be kind to yourself. But I also think that there's an element that can do a lot for us in this space that we have not tapped yet, and that is our memories. When we engage our content, and let's change that word, even though I'm conditioned to the word content. And we've all been conditioned. Let's just understand this. For the last decade, we have all been conditioned to engage in our online content in a certain way. All right. And that certain way has led us to see our content as superficial, right? So we're happy to take 30 pictures of a frothy coffee that looks nice, or 30 pictures of an airplane window, or a shot without any context. Sometimes we'll put a description in, but for the most part, what we're not getting is the first person behind the scenes, which we do already in first person when we take a selfie, but the behind the scenes thoughts of something, right? Why did you take that photo, right? So I'm having coffee here. That's great. Having coffee, but instead of my frothy coffee, I can put that on Instagram, whatever, that's fine. Or you could think about saving that with a first person application that remembers the memory. So you go, yes, I'm having coffee, but I'm actually sitting here alone, right? It could be sitting here alone at a coffee shop. I've done this in LA, writing a screenplay. I've done that. Right. And this is what my screenplay is about. And this is what my idea is about. And I really hope that it gets picked up. I really hope that somebody makes a film out of it because I think it's got a meaningful message behind it. Click. Save that memory. How do you think I'm going to feel one day when I look back on that memory? That film might get made. It might never get made. I can tell you it hasn't been made yet, or that particular example. But when I look back on that, even when I think back on that now, that this is unscripted that I'm doing here, and I'm just letting memory flow. And even when I think back on that now, if I didn't do this video, I would not have thought about that moment. But I actually feel great fulfillment. When I wrote that screenplay, I was living in Los Angeles. It was my wife and I. It was our first move to America. We actually came here by winning the green card lottery at a 0.73% chance. Us little South Africans that had lived in other countries in the world on a shoestring budget ended up with our decade-long dream being fulfilled to live in America. And shortly after, we became American citizens. And had I not thought about that memory today, I would lack some of the fulfillment of the entire journey we've been through to get here. Instead, I've been able to, with you, share in the joy of that moment. And whether I were to look back on that one day as a success, say that movie ever got made, or a failure, fine, I have a different grid for that, but let's just call it that for now. The one thing that I will be able to take away from it is that when we were living in Los Angeles, and it was so difficult, we really were struggling. We were on the brink of homelessness many a time. The one thing that I would do, even though I couldn't find work, was that I would go up to the community center at the property and I would sit there and I would write. I would learn how to write. I would pay attention to it. I would give myself to it. I'd do, a friend bought me an online course from Aaron Sorkin that I would do. And then I would put that into the writing. And it, I remember that moment. I remember the fact that I felt so useless because I couldn't find work and my wife was working all these crazy hours doing a job that was way beneath her. I had come off, a long career as a professional radio host in 3 different countries and couldn't find work. And I remember though that, what? I gritted it out. I found something to do. I found something that sat in my wheelhouse of creativity and such. And I honed a craft. And to get up every day and go do that, there was something about the resilience that was building in me doing that and other things that I would do to help build that I can now see in my life. And I learn those lessons. And learning the lessons is one thing, but actually finding the value proposition of you as a person, building that character into your life is a totally different thing. And so success or failure, I don't need to look back at it that way. I can look back at it as in, I did well there. Or I could look back at other times around that same period of my life and go, I did not do well there. And either way, it adds value to the fact that I have lived, right? That I have a human experience that is a privilege to be on this planet and have this experience within myself, within the relationships that I have and the ones that I love, and within what I feel I can bring to society that can help in a positive way the fabric of society. And that's really why we run the company we do, and why we live this understanding. I say we by our team, and even our team's families that are building this thing for all of us. So, but like I said, I'm not talking about building the thing. So engaging in memories right? It has this proposition for us, but we have slighted that. I guess to some degree, we went from needing information like that to be passed, like cave drawings, in order to tell us which animals were the dangerous ones, right? Or, or how to make fire, or whatever it was. I'm sorry, but my hieroglyphics too. That's a whole nother thing, right? But my cave drawings and stuff, I'm not up to date on the latest lingo there, so I'm trying to just imagine what we might have been passing down then. So, to tell us these things, or when it stepped out to family trees, when you think about kings and such into family trees, and we think about sitting around fires, passing stories, passing tales around. When we think about there are religions in the world right now that one of their particular engagements is to actually sit around and speak about family tales and family stories. And so what we've done is, and like I said, grandma's albums. But what we've done is, because we've been conditioned to engage in our content in a very superficial way, and the reason we've been conditioned that way is because the metric for those companies very quickly became how to make money. They need to sell ads. They need your data to sell in order to do that. Tracking your content and such across their platforms gives them that data. And the motivation for them getting us to upload data, the interaction that they present us with, is not about the depth of your content, your life, the meaning behind your story. It is simply about staying active and putting more up. So, yeah, you go and post those 50 pictures a day, darling, on Instagram, and that's fine. You just kind of an unpaid employee in a way. But I get that it's a nice place to have content, and I still use Instagram as well because it's a place for my superficial stuff. But if we do not engage in our content in a healthy way, if we do not correct this, there are two things that are happening. The one is that we are leaving a massive void of the insight, the wisdom, the understanding, the human experience, just the things that make you and connect you to the people that you care about. We are leaving that void in history, right? So we often complain, my generation, Gen Xers, we often complain that our parents never taught us about money, for example. I don't know about you, but certainly that the Gen Xers I'm with, that's a difficulty of ours, right? Didn't teach us about money. And I love you, Mom. This is true. Okay. But we as a generation can share in that feeling. All right. We can also say that the generation before them, the builders, and I love the builders. If you're watching this, fantastic. Good on you. You're on a technology platform watching this video about a tech app that's going to save your story. So you're in the right place. Just stick with me. But we could say that generation was out there building so much, the builders, building organizations, building all of these things, that they didn't teach things to our parents, right? And I'm not going to say what those things are. That's for our parents to harp on about. So there is this thing of generations lacking important, valuable truths, lacking the pass down effect of that, right? That is sort of because we think about generational estate in terms of money, houses, cars, things like that, right? But what about your digital estate? What about the memories held in there? What about all of that, right? What about the stuff that I'm talking about, right? The memories behind the memory, the insight, the wisdom. And the origin story of why I'm on this path comes from that as well. But I'll get to that in a moment. But, that's the one. We're leaving this gap in history. What are we going to pass to generations to come that they are going to look back and go, whoa, if Gen X, right? And you can be, look, if you want to join the Gen X movement, you do that, right? But I'm just speaking to my age because that's what I know, right? But but if this is capturing you, you're a human, right? What are we going to, as humans living on this earth at this time, be known for one day in terms of adding real value to humanity? Now, yeah, we can say, well, technologies and ethics, climate change, whatever you want to, whatever your thing is, that's cool and that's great. I would put it to you that many of the things we can list do not have a long-lasting effect. They do not have a long-lasting depth of value, but your memories do. Because you know what? Out of 8 billion people on this planet Earth, 8 billion people, can you believe it? I heard a stat the other day of somebody saying when they lived I think it was, I'd have to look it up. I'm totally going to get this wrong. So whatever. But when they were alive, how many years ago? They're still alive, but when they were, looking at this population growth in, I think it was the 60s, there were like 2 billion people on the planet, 2 billion. And now there's 8 billion people on the planet. So you're one of 8 billion people. And that can make you feel quite insignificant, really, But the reality is this, that not only are you one of 8 billion people on the planet, but you are completely unique. Let me get a little closer so that you actually understand what I'm trying to tell you here. Look, you are completely unique. All right. You are entirely unique. There's no one like you. There is nobody else like you. And I can prove it to you. Here's how I can prove it to you. You go out and find 2 people on this planet that have lived the exact same life, right? And responded to situations with the exact same response, okay, throughout their life, had the same journey, the same opportunities, the same failures, same successes, same weaknesses, same strengths, same personality makeup, the same responses that have caused neurological effects or patterns or neural pathways or physiological effects, trauma, all these sort of things, right? It's impossible. It is impossible that 2 people have lived exactly the same life, human experience, right? Now, that means that what has made up their lives, what has made up their experience, their approaches to things, the insights they've gained, the wisdom they have grown in, the character they've formed, the mistakes they've made, even. I'm not discounting any life. There are people that have done horrendous things in this world, but there are stories there as well that we can learn from. They can learn from. The rest of us can learn from, whatever it is. But here's the thing. Yours are unique. Yours are unique. The way you've responded to things. What the problem is here, you don't realize how unique you are because there's something lacking in our modern age in terms of how you value yourself. And I'm telling you right now that everything you need to value yourself is actually in your memory. It's in your memory. Maybe not everything you need, but certainly a large chunk of what you need to value yourself today in this moment is in your memory. Perhaps you need to pause this right now and just go and put some music on and sit on a couch somewhere and think of one edifying memory from your past. And if you can't, then you need to think about when somebody tried to tell you what an amazing person you are, what a good job you did. And you need to then not count them as a liar, but as a truth teller. The reason we don't value our memories anymore is because we have become superficial about our content because we've been conditioned to be that way. It's fine to have superficial content that's fun, but we must start changing the way we think about our stories, the way we think about the value proposition of our pasts, not just for us, but for those to come too. Now, I told you that there was one thing that we were lacking, and that was the gap in history. The second thing is this. I'm actually pretty proud of myself for remembering the second thing. Usually I say there's 3 things and I forget 2 or forget 1, so I'm really proud right now. So the second thing, before I forget it, is that it draws us to deeper connection. So, with the, I just want to speak freely about this, but I'm not trying to get you onto our app. I am trying to present you with a solution that we think is important, and that is the app that we've created called Capsll, 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 and that's cool. If you want to figure it out, go figure it out. That's fine. That's not the point of this podcast. The app that we've created doesn't give a public space, right? There is no public space for us to have some stranger come in and comment on our stuff, which I'm sure will probably happen on these videos as well. Because something that was supposed to connect us, social media, has really come to a point now where it is dividing us more and more. And it's not just dividing us from each other, it's dividing us from ourselves as well. And that's because we don't have this value proposition on who we are. We're actually allowing other people to dictate our value often by their comments, by the amount of likes we get or such. That is not That is just not your value. That is undermining you so much. Like, that is underplaying your value so ridiculously that it's laughable. I mean, it's really laughable. You're worth so much more than that. And your stories should be valued so much more than that. So, you know, when we look at how we engage content in order to draw connection, yes, social media was supposed to connect us. Now we know it no longer does. It's the time now to go, what is the thing that we can learn from that, and what should we do? And the reality is that we connect well with people that we trust. And so trust is a currency that we use for connection. And when we have a safe, private space to build that trust, then we can feel safe to share our stories and our memories and our meaningful moments with the people that we trust. And so we recognize that happens in the private space, and that's what we are giving you to use for private sharing. But the point is that instead of this pathway towards further and further division, we can start getting on a pathway of greater connection. And that can come through sharing our meaningful content privately with those that we care to share that particular piece of meaningful content with. And that's very important. Now, there is actually a third thing, and the third thing is connecting us generationally. So, when we engage with our content in this meaningful way, I've spoken about how it connects us individually to ourselves. I've spoken about how it connects us to those that we care about and those that we choose to have in our circles, safe voices, people that edify us and such. But it also connects us to future generations, because if we start engaging our content in this way and we see the value of it, we will understand the necessity to pass this content on generation. That's something that we as a company, I think we are probably one of the first or one of the only to think about forever generational legacy of your digital content, and to tackle this. And it's not easy, but we're doing our best. But to pass your content generationally so future generations can know you in first person for who you are, why you reacted. And this kind of brings me full to certain things, why you grew from certain things. I should finish my sentences and such. It brings me back to the origin story of what we've created. I was sitting in this very studio one night, and I really wanted to not so much save just the stories of the things I'd gotten to do, because I was a professional radio host and TV host and professional MC in 4 different countries over a period of 17 years. And what that does is it allots you a lot of cool experiences. You get to do stuff that most people don't have access to. Not like super high end stuff, because it was still Africa, for some of it, Africa, Dubai, Australia, and the US. So you get to do stuff that doesn't come up, like jumping out of an airplane on a reality TV show, for example, and stuff. And that's all cool. And I wanted to save that, but in starting to try and save that, I really realized that I wanted to, more importantly, be able to leave a trail of why I became the person I become, why my wife and I are the people we are. Like, what is the story behind the story, right? What's the behind the scenes? And I started recording a private podcast because I thought, well, I could do it that way. And I quickly realized I wanted to be able to add audio, video, and picture as well. And that got very frustrating to me. But that evening, washing dishes, because my wife was out at work, and all good husbands wash dishes from time to time when the dishwasher's overloaded. And the idea came to me about what we're building, the idea for a private space where you could privately share and pass your content generationally without the ills and abuses, without the likes, without the advertising, without the division, without selling people's data. How could we do that? And that was 3 years ago. The other side of the coin, other than leaving my stuff, and I hadn't even yet realized how it would connect me in my current time. I was just thinking about, one day, leave my stuff for one day. And on this journey, we've discovered how important it is to actually engage in your memories now with each other. To take that picture, sure, put that picture on Instagram, but then follow up with a video going, this is why this moment's important to me. We didn't actually realize that. I didn't realize that until, we were in this process of building what we're building and doing all the research. But the adverse side of that, the other side of the coin, other than me leaving my stuff, was that my grandfather was a orphan who became a very, very influential CEO in his time in South Africa. And, I would love to know his stories about that. Now that I'm a CEO, I would love to know his advice, and it might not be as tailored to being able to sit with him in person now and ask him, but at least I'd have something. I'd have his insights, and I don't have that. And so that really hit me hard in terms of generations to come after us. I mean, we can fix that right now. Right now, we can fix that for them. Right now, we can do two things. We can value ourselves, our connection with those that we care about, and we can value the future, our kids, our grandkids, and such. I'd like to encourage you to, if this has touched you in any way, if this has seemed profound to you in some way, or has jogged your inner juices about needing to save your memories or find your own value or connect deeper with those that you care about, or leave things for one day for those that will live on after you or come after you, then please do think about who this might impact in a similar way and share this with them. Most importantly is not the shareability. I'm not looking for your virality. I'm looking for you, just you, one person watching this video, to consider that your memories, your stories are valuable and deserve to be saved. You're unique. And if you do nothing else after joining me in this today, consider saving your memories. Consider saving your memories, and consider looking back on them from time to time and understanding your value. So you can download the Capsll app to save your stories if you like, if that's where you want to do it. If you trust us to steward that for you, that's fantastic. We would love to serve you in that way. So much love to you. You're worth it. Remember that you're unique. And I know I've said that a few times, but it's got to sink in. And I hope that you'll join us for the next episode and the journey to come. If I don't see you here, I won't see you because it's completely private, but I will hope that you download Capsll, Capsll, from the App Store and save your stories on there. Till we meet again, cheers, ciao, goodbye.